38 minutes after the hour. Bulldog and Kevin, fasten your seatbelts, folks. Fasten your seatbelts. Danforth Prince is with us. Good morning, Danforth.
Bill, yes, I'm so happy to be on your show. Hello.
Hello. All the way from back east. Is it snowing there yet?
Yes, the roads are covered with snow, and everyone is panicking. Well, you all don't know how lucky you are out there in the sun.
Oh, yes,
True.
No, I know how lucky I am. But Kevin's in a bad mood, so he doesn't care.
No, I don't really care.
Danforth Prince is the president of Blood Moon Productions, who you put out the most interesting books. And
well, very kind. Thank you.
And they're all very big books. You get your money's worth when you get a book from Blood Moon Productions. And a new book. Has this book hit? Is it out yet?
No, the first retail outlet in America will be in Palm Springs at a store there called Greetings on the corner of Palm Canyon at Amado.
Okay.
We've selected Palm Springs as a test market with the Greetings store, very fine store it is, to be the first retail outlet in America, online or anywhere, to stock the new books we come out with regularly.
That's
so
wonderful.
It is.
Okay, and the name of this new book coming out is Pink Triangle, The Feuds and Private Lives of Tennessee Williams, Gore Vidal, Truman Capote, and famous members of their entourage. And, of course, Darwin Porter wrote the book, and you did research with him. So tell people some of the feuds. Tell people what they're going to find out in this book.
Well, we've tried to uncover a aspect of the arts in America from the point of view of showbiz. When three gay writers were dominating the world's perceptions of the American arts through the writings that they were doing, which were being transformed into plays and movies. The three writers were Tennessee Williams and Gore Vidal and Truman Capote, each of which was aggressively activist gay man, demanding the right to bring their male friends at the time to society dinner parties and not concealing their gay worldview as interpreted through their plays and movies.
Three bitter queens.
Three bitter queens, bitter, and acid, and they all got involved with feuds and spats, and in many cases some very dramatic lawsuits, which indeed involved most of the big players of Hollywood. Everyone wanted to be in a Tennessee Williams play, and the cast of characters that surrounded these three writers, that if people don't know the writers themselves, they do know the Marilyn Monroe, the Elizabeth Taylor, the Marlon Brando, the Rock Hudson, the Paul Newman, who would crawl on their knees across the desert of Palm Springs to be in one of their plays. So all of Hollywood got involved and then is filtered out into the perception of the world at large about what the American arts were during what we call the American century, when America was dominating the world in terms of commerce and in the arts.
Wow. I'm going to say, but it's not just, it's about these three men and their feuds and the people in their lives, but people like Charlton Heston are in the book, and Burt Lancaster, and just a host of people that everybody knows.
Well, the stories that we focus on in this book really were not breathed about in the tabloids at the time for legal reasons. I think anyone who would publish any of this stuff back then, when the principals were alive, would have been sued out of business.
Right.
We run that risk ourselves, even in this latter-day backwards toward the arts in America. But we market it as an overview of the zeitgeist of showbiz in ways that have never been published before.
And most of the people are gone now.
Well, alas, yes, but we are very committed to salvaging their stories and getting them on paper, and I get very grand here, with library indexes as scholastic reference points for future scholars and for present-day gossips who, of course, have seen the great plays of Tennessee Williams. I mean, I would argue that Streetcar Named Desire has been seen by many, many, many people. The Blanche Dubois hysteria that came out from this promiscuous Southern belle who eventually loses her mind and is hauled off to an asylum, we argue was the female counterpart of Tennessee Williams himself. And those words within the plays, "I always rely on the kindness of strangers, honey," have now entered the American gay context to the point where we want to provide the background as to why those terms are important.
Tennessee Williams wrote the greatest plays. In fact,
divine.
Yes, when Elizabeth Taylor passed away, and, of course, everybody in Palm Springs was sitting shiva for a week. You know, mirrors were covered, and people bringing food. When Elizabeth Taylor died, on CNN that very day, they said Elizabeth Taylor, who starred in Car on a Hot Tin Roof.
And they didn't say car, did they?
Car. They said car on a hot tin roof.
And they said it twice.
I called Kevin, and Kevin said that's impossible. That even Kevin knew it was cat on a hot tin roof.
Even I knew it was cat, right.
And so he put on CNN, and the same girl said, Elizabeth Taylor, star of Car on a Hot Tin Roof. It's like, you think anybody at CNN would have said to the girl, it's cat.
Hello.
It makes you want to die. It makes you want to die. One of our side gigs always is literacy in the new world, in the gay world, literacy skills, and we put out these books in the hopes. This is the most literarily ambitious book we've ever done, and I wouldn't say that because to say that is the kiss of death for any pop book, but they do involve the literary tone of showbiz in a way that I think many, many people will respond.
Well, I've been reading the book. I've been reading the book. Is very enjoyable, and I have to tell you, Danforth, when you come on the show, Kevin sits and takes notes of the way you put words together because he considers you a wordsmith. And when you said "alas," he's written it down in huge letters. Because tomorrow on the show, he's going to use it probably incorrectly, but alas is the big word. Now, we have a question.
That's a good segue word, Kevin. Also, another good one is whereas. If you say whereas blah, 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 then blah, 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 blah. They're great little words to throw in.
We're talking with Dan.
Whereas and alas. You should use them a lot.
We're talking to Danforth Prince, who's suffering in the snow in Staten Island. He's the president of Blood Moon Productions. The name of the book is Pink Triangle, The Feuds and Private Lives of Tennessee Williams, Gore Vidal, Truman Capote, and famous members of their entourage. It'll be available at Greetings in Palm Springs when, Danforth?
Oh, in about I think about 7 or 9 days.
Okay, see, we always break the books. We break the news. Now, here's a question. Why did you call it the Pink Triangle when the Pink Triangle was used by the Nazis as a symbol for gay people?
Well, it's a good evocative reference. It's certainly an evocative reference.
Right.
Before every book is released, that I package these books, I help create these books with the help of people much smarter than me.
Impossible.
But I've been accused of having a personality change with every book we market. For example, when I was marketing with you the Linda Lovelace biography, I really got involved in the porn industry, poor Linda, her plight, blah, blah.
Yeah.
When I got involved with marketing the Zsa Zsa Gabor book, you were kind to have me on your show then, I really did get into the tits and diamonds and failed romance scheme and took that hard and long and far on a book tour we did through South Florida. People were very nice to me, and a lot of women really did view Zsa Zsa Gabor as their role model, blah, blah.
Now, I have a question. Do you think she's still alive, or do you think the prince just has like a dummy up there, and he's just waiting to finish spending all her money? She can't be alive anymore.
Oh, I think she's still alive. And I'm very grateful that the camp has been tacitly quiet about this book. I think they do like the book we put out about Zsa Zsa. We're very grateful to the Gabor camp. Very nice of them. But now we're doing this Pink Triangle thing, and the way that I view this is a direct pipeline to the literary lavender hip of showbiz during the 1950s, 1960s, and
Kevin just wrote that down. The literary lavender hip. And tomorrow people are going to think that Kevin Holmes is a brilliant spokesperson for this show.
That's right.
Well, Kevin, I'll coach you. It's all right. I'll give you buzzwords. It'll be fine.
Okay.
We'll work it through.
Good.
We'll
now, Danforth, when are you going to come back to Palm Springs? I thought you'd be coming back and forth.
Palm Springs. I love Palm Springs. When you come to Palm Springs or to L.A. with a literary media product about showbiz, it's like bringing the Holy Grail to Jerusalem.
Right.
And it's amazing who comes out of the woodwork. You have movie stars there up in the hills.
Yes, some of them are alive. Some of them are alive.
Karen Dahl is living in Palm Springs. She was a movie star. She's up there, and she's spreading her stories. It's wonderful who you've got in Palm Springs.
Yeah, everybody's here. Everybody's
it's still not New York. I mean, I wander around wearing black and suffering in the sun and using big words, and God, people listen for a while. It is fabulous.
Yeah, Lucy Arnaz just moved here with her husband, Larry Luckenbill. They're terrific people. Terrific people.
Oh,
yes. Does Barry...
Well, the book... The book was written with the understanding that Key West, Florida, a wonderful gay retreat, of course, was the home of Tennessee Williams through all of his most productive years.
I went for a tour of his house, the Tennessee Williams house.
Boogie Woogie, indeed.
Yeah, with the cats.
The author, Darwin Porter, was the bureau chief for the Miami Herald, based in Key West during the greatest years of Tennessee's productivity. And Darwin Porter became best friends with Frankie Merlo, who was Tennessee's longtime companion. And Darwin was a young man in his 20s then, soaking up this American zeitgeist of the arts like a sponge.
Okay, zeitgeist just got written down by Kevin Holmes. Zeitgeist was just written down by Kevin. Darwin, hold on a second. We have to take a quick break, and we'll come back to you, okay?
We'll come back. Good. Go.
I called you Darwin. I can't believe it. You're Danforth.
You did say
Darwin all the time. People mix
Danforth.
it up. Terrible.
Danforth. If you two were in the room at the same time, do I know who's who?
Oh, I think you would, yes.
My zeitgeist would tell me. My zeitgeist would tell me. You're listening to the Bill Feingold Show. We're live. We're local on K-News 94.3. 53 minutes after the hour. Bulldog and Kevin. We're here for you, Dan. Danforth Prince is on the line, president of Blood Moon Productions, their new book, Pink Triangle, The Feuds and Private Lives of Tennessee Williams. You there, Danforth?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
Tennessee Williams, Gore Vidal, and Truman Capote. Well, you did all this research on these three men, all interesting, all brilliant in their own ways. I used to see Truman Capote in Studio 54. He was a miserable little thing. I mean, it was an unhappy, drunken, miserable little person. Yeah, but of all, what
he didn't age well. Let us say, like you, Bill, who was aging like the gods on Olympus.
It's unbelievable. You wouldn't recognize me. I've grown my hair now. I'm starting to look a little bit like Moses Feingold because I still feel that's the role in life I must play now. But yes, go ahead.
You and I think we met one another at Studio 54 in the old days, Bill.
Way back when. Yeah. Way back when.
Yes.
Interrupted by Calvin Klein, probably. Tennessee Williams, Gore Vidal, Truman Capote. Who do you think was the most promiscuous? Who had the most promiscuous lifestyle?
Well, I think the one who codified it the most articulately was Gore Vidal. He really viewed himself as a Roman senator, a patriarch, a grand aristocratic man from a family that included some senators and lots of money. And in his own form of gay activism, he bragged very loudly about having been the gay version of the Casanova figure for having seduced 1,003 men.
Wow.
They ranged from the unknown to the very well-known movie stars of Hollywood. And
give us a few names. Give me a few names of some of the movie stars that he seduced.
Well, the Paul Newman Gore Vidal link was very strong during the marketing of Paul Newman as Billy the Kid in a script that Gore Vidal had written. They became great friends, traveled through the Aegean, and there was indeed flirtations and some foreplay there that's laid out very, very articulately in the book.
That's Gore Vidal. He codified everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you mention really what the three writers were like, you have indeed three very different men writing in their styles. Gore was the great commentator on the American Empire and its final days, castigating the presidents of the United States in books like Lincoln and Burr, and he wrote Live from Golgotha, a great satirist.
And that's why he moved to Italy, right? Gore Vidal, he lived in Italy and ripped the country apart.
Where he indeed was visited with great fanfare by Princess Margaret and some of her peccadillos, some sexual setups that he set up for her with local Italian guys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, quite a lot happened in that villa in Ravello. And then, of course, Hillary Clinton popped in, which we covered just a little bit, but not too much. But Gore was a notorious figure wherever he went, sparking controversy, always on the TV talk shows, always...
Yes, he was always on Open Ed with David Susskind. He was always on with David Susskind. And I thought he was a genius.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. And then you had, of course, Tennessee, who was the lush, Baroque commentator of the deep American South with the best female characters ever written for the stage. Blanche Dubois from Streetcar Named Desire and Amanda from The Glass Menagerie. One can argue that in his own ambiguous view of the male-female tension that existed in that very brilliant writer, his female characters evoked his own feminine side.
And don't forget Maggie the Car. Maggie the Car. I'm Maggie the Car. I'm like a car on a hot tin roof.
Hollywood misspellers.
Yes.
That's funny.
And, of course, Truman Capote, New York, and, of course, he was friends with Jackie Kennedy's sister.
Yes, and Truman was odd in that he was really praised endlessly as being a brilliant American writer, which he indeed was, but his output was not as big by far as that of either Gore or Tennessee.
Right.
And Tennessee would always prick the needle of both of their egos and do vindictive, terrible gossip things. And it blossomed into lawsuits, and everyone got involved. One of the lawsuits was based on something Lee Radziwill, which was Jackie Kennedy's sister,
Right.
had supposedly told Tennessee a story. Tennessee breathed about New York society.
And that was the end of his life. The society, they turned him off.
Lee did not back him up in this, and it turned into a huge lawsuit that Truman lost against Gore, and apologies were issued, and Esquire magazine got involved, and the New Yorker magazine got involved, and lawyers got involved, and it was always the talk of New York City, Capote and his law.
And that's what we loved about New York City. Danforth, Prince, we have to say goodbye. The news is coming. Let me say the name of the book: Pink Triangle, The Feuds and Private Lives of Tennessee Williams, Gore Vidal, Truman Capote.
Great
It'll
stuff.
be available in about a week and a half at Greetings right here in Palm Springs, because Palm Springs gets to read this book first. And that's what we love about you, Danforth, Prince. Come and visit us, okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Phil. I will.
We'll talk to you soon. You're listening to the Bulldog and Kevin, live and local on K News 94.3 FM and 970 AM.